Hello, and welcome to my channel, the only channel on booktube that speaks about horror. The only channel that is, apart from all the other ones. So, what are we talking about today? Well, I'm glad you asked me. Today we'll be looking at Hell House by Richard Matheson. So Hell House is a classic horror book, and Richard Matheson is a he's a well-known, a classic horror author, really. He wrote some horror and a great deal of sci-fi as well. And this particular book, Hell House, was published in 1971. And that's important to bear in mind because I'll explain why in a moment. So this review isn't going to contain any spoilers as such. I'm just going to give you a kind of outline of the book and leave it there. So I'm not going to be spoiling anything for you. Okay, so what is Hell House about? So Hell House is about a house with a very, very tumultuous history. It was built by a man by the name of Belasco, an extremely depraved character in the 1930s. And throughout its use by Belasco, it was, I think it was about 20 years in the story. It was a place it was like a kind of modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, it was the site of endless depravity and debauchery. Belasco would have parties there and people would flock there to engage in all kinds of debauched activities. It's a place where a great many suicides and murders happened. So it was called Hell House during Belasco's lifetime. And then after 20 years of occupancy, on Belasco's death, the house is closed up. So it gains a reputation as being the most haunted house in the world. Okay, it's just this house in this isolated valley in Maine, and the story picks up here with a millionaire called William Deutsch, and he has a problem, and that problem is that he's dying. And even greater than that is the fact that he's frightened of dying, and so he wants definitive proof that there is life after death. And what better way to do that than to send a team of investigators to Hell House to gather substantive proof that there is life after death. Okay? So, Deutsch assembles a team of people. Excuse me, I must consult my notes because very, very unprofessional, but I forgot the name. Excuse me, sorry. Although it's professional that I've got notes, I think you'll agree. There's Dr. Barrett, who is a physicist, and he's a physicist with an interest in the parapsychological. And he's accompanied by his wife, Edith. He's accompanied by Edith because he had polio as a child, and so as an adult, he's not in the best of health, and he does need some kind of support. Then there's Florence Tanner. She is a spiritualist who has become, I believe, a nun, and she was, in her past life, an actress. And then there's Benjamin Franklin. He's the most intriguing of the group because he actually survived a previous expedition to Hell House in the 1940s. He was only a teenager then. It was a 4-person team, and he was the only one to survive. So that's why he's been chosen. So Deutsch has given them a very strict brief. They've got 1 week to find him proof of life after death. They've got unlimited funds, and they've got to stay on location. And the fact that this was written in 1971 comes into play because obviously in that time there was no internet, there were no cell phones, so it was far, far easier for people to be cut off from all human contact than it is today, obviously. The house itself is set in a valley in Maine, and the author does a really, really great job in the beginning of taking us to the house and giving us a great sense of isolation. You really feel that you're in this kind of like leafy green valley with no one around. The only outside contact that the team has is an old couple who are supposed to essentially take care of the basics like washing, cleaning, washing and cooking, that kind of thing, washing their clothing and cooking. So this couple will come, carry out their errand, and then leave again. They don't stay with the team. So Another really, really strong point about this book, I think, apart from all of its strong points, is the fact that the house itself is a character. I don't mean it's sentient and that it talks to the people, but in a way, the presence, in a way, it does. As soon as the team enters the house, you get a real sense of atmosphere. You get a real sense of dread, because the house itself is in complete darkness. There's no light inside it. They have to provide their own light because it's been completely boarded up. So they're in perpetual darkness in this house. So that adds a real sense of menace. And Richard Matheson does a really, really good job as soon as they enter the house of transmitting a sense of menace. You always, from the moment the team enters the house, you get a real sense that anything could happen. Also, this book is very, very fast paced. I mean, from my exposition here, you might think, oh, wow, it's a really, really long, the book must be like 1,000 pages long. You probably have to read 500 pages before they get to the house. No, that's just me being long-winded. The book cracks along at a really, really good pace. It's really well paced. It's really exciting. And it's, in my opinion anyway, it's surprisingly bloody and surprisingly graphic and surprisingly shocking in some places, but not gratuitously. I mean, the gore, for want of a better word, is justified. It's not a sort of like schlock horror kind of thing. Richard Matheson was a very, very good writer. If you've read any of his books, you'll know he was a very literate writer. He was a very, very high quality writer. The only other books of his I've read are I Am Legend and an anthology of his stories, and he really deserves to be checked out for everything that he's written. So another aspect that brings a great deal of menace to the investigation is the fact that every other team that has tried to investigate, because there've been a few before them, has come a cropper. And practically, I think, if I remember correctly, Benjamin Franklin is the only person who has ever survived a sojourn in the house. Everyone else is dead, basically, as far as I remember. So, there's a very, very real sense of risk there. There's definitely something in the house. The question is what? So, I definitely recommend this book. It's a very, very good read. It was written in 1971, but it's not at all old-fashioned. To me, one of the things I found that surprised me was it felt like a surprisingly contemporary read. It wasn't old-fashioned, or there was a real sense that I had the real sense it could have been written like last year or something. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you've not tried any Richard Matheson, definitely give this book a look. If you like ghost stories, haunted house stories, anything like that, give this book a look. You won't be disappointed. So that's all there is for today. If in the unlikely event you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.